Live.
And we're live, folks. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We are here with Professor McGee from Ghost Show Press. Chris, how you doing?
Oh, I'm well, sir. How are you?
I am all right. I have my emotional support mug of wine here, so I'm enjoying the evening with these fine gentlemen. Yeah, there's Jacob Blackman, freelance illustrator and frequent co-host of the BAMF podcast. Jacob, how are you this fine Friday evening from Oklahoma?
Ready to take on 100 men like a gorilla.
Indeed. That is the meme that's burning up the interwebs these days.
I don't know why.
I like it better than the whole dude or a bear thing, the one we were talking about last year. I'm on the side of the 100 guys. I think it all depends on morale. If you can feel seeing like the first 12 dudes go down, like if they're turning through like Capri Sun, then I think that the remaining 80 guys maybe could sit there and take them. But I think the first, I don't know. We don't. Anyway, today we're not talking about gorillas. We're not talking about men. We're talking about Daredevil and Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus. Before we do that, I really should play our lovely, lovely opening theme song. 1 second. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That lovely musical montage assures you this is a high-quality, professional operation. Only the finest farm-to-table, organically sourced, ethically produced, geeky conversation for your podcast listening delight. And on this podcast, we are on record of being a fan of previous iterations of Daredevil on TV, going back to Netflix. And Disney has decided to revive that franchise, including John Barenthal as the Punisher and other supporting cast members.
Should we say spoiler?
Spoilers are on. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. So if you don't want to get spoiled for this show, turn off right now and go talk about 100 Men or a Gorilla on social media of your choice.
Because we will be discussing spoilers.
We will be discussing spoilers. There's that banner on the bottom. You've been warned.
Just the tiniest little font. The best tiny little font you could get.
It's endearing. It's earnest. So let me ask either one of you guys seeing the new big deal in the MCU coming out this weekend?
Oh, we're going tomorrow.
Going tomorrow. Yeah. I may or not be. Jacob, are you taking in the Thunderbolts?
I will be taking in Thunderbolts. I'm not sure exactly when. A couple of my friends are sick with the same illness that's been going around, so we usually like to watch these things together. So that'll probably be happening next week sometime.
Okay, fair enough. We should do a follow-up show, perhaps, talking about the Bolts of Thunder.
I agree. I am a huge Thunderbolts fan, dating back all the way to the 1997 comic. It is, in fact, I will say, one of my favorite comics ever. So I'm going into the movie with an open mind that this is not the Thunderbolts that I know and love, but it is the Thunderbolts that the MCU is giving us.
Kind of like the Secret Invasion. Keeping the title, changing everything else, but there is a super team, and it is called the Thunderbolts.
But we're not here to talk about the Thunderbolts today. We are here to talk about Daredevil Born Again.
Talk about earnest street-level hallway fights. Chris, we haven't talked to you in a while, sir. I've been missing your sagacious and witty comments.
Well, you're very kind. You're very kind. Thank you.
I try. Please tell us what you think about Daredevil.
Well, I think this may be more than anything that Marvel has put out in a while. The production behind it shows, because for anybody that has a life and doesn't track behind the scenes stuff on Disney shows, Disney brought in two guys, and I looked them up to make sure I get their name right: Matt Corman and Chris Ord. And these two guys got handed a 22 episode Disney Plus series. And the reason I looked him up was because one of the many things that the MCU got right is I think a lot of people have forgotten how at the beginning Marvel was bringing in people like Kenneth Branagh and Joss Whedon back when that was a thing that fans would respond positively to because he had done things they like. It was the creators they were bringing in to work in on that stuff. It was like even if it didn't quite stick the landing, you still saw like, wow, it's cool they asked Kenneth Branagh to do a film. So I looked up Corman and Ord, and I don't often recommend people Google me, but these two guys' biggest credit is they did 75 episodes of a show called Covert Affairs. And that just sounds, I mean, it's like I haven't seen it, but I know I have. That just sounds so generic, it could kill you. And they did the 2006 cinematic atrocity Deck the Halls. And that's pretty much their resume. These two guys walked in and got a 22 episode commitment from Marvel. It makes me think maybe I should pitch them something.
We probably should. I was going to say, they're getting cheap over at Marvel. They wouldn't pay Jeremy Renner even the same salary from season 1 for Hawkeye.
And they're getting ready to do a major push for Stingray. It's like maybe I should polish off my torpedo spec script for them. If they're that deep in the weeds, that. But anyway, so Corman and Ord come in, and the people that thought that Eternals was a good idea looked at the first I think they got through like four or five episodes, something like that, said it was absolute shit, and brought in the guy that did Moon Knight, I think. But they brought in somebody else to come in and do reshoots. Apparently at the behest of Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox themselves. And the word is that, and when the two stars are being, please save this thing from crashing into the damn mountain. So they did reshoots. We didn't know how much. There were some people saying that like they just threw like all the Corman and Ord stuff in the trash and started over, which unfortunately didn't seem like they actually did. So it's pretty clear. You can see the scenes. You can see the reshoots. We start off with the new stuff because it's sudden, dramatic, controversial, makes you want to see where it goes. All of the setting up, the regret, and then you get that in the first episode, and then the stuff that got Ord and Corman fired rolls through for about 7 more episodes. And you're just sitting there and you feel like you're watching a different show. It's like you're watching the right season of this, because they start off with with all that drama of Foggy being killed and, Matt quitting as Daredevil, and how, that the impact that had on him. And that just kind of disappears for like 7 episodes. It isn't until the reshoots kick back in the last couple of episodes, you get back to that. And I think that may be the biggest flaw in all of this is it just doesn't match. If the whole show could have been like the first episode and the last episode, I think it might have been something. But it's like by the time that I get a real sense that I want to watch this and I want to see more of it, it's the end of episode 9, and I wonder what I've done with the last 9 hours of my life. Now, I have high hopes for season 2, where it's just the same people that made the first episode and last episode good doing 9 episodes and building on the positives. But all of the old Ord Corman stuff, it was just a slog. It was just about the only good thing that comes out of the middle bit is I really love Camar de los Reyes as Hector Ayala. It's there was a point in his arc where I was like, why can't the show be about him? They've forgotten about poor dead Foggy. What little bit he's been given to do, he's doing a good job with, and of course they kill him off pretty definitively. And it's like, oh man, the one thing that could have made those middle seven so much more watchable.
Especially considering how popular White Tiger is as a character.
Really,
because he may not be a household name, but for comic book fans, White Tiger is a huge name. White Tiger has a huge following.
Yeah, I'm a guy who has the omnibus edition of Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. I can never tell how much my obsessions translate to normal folks. But if White Tiger has a following, then here. But yeah. And honestly, the more that you can tell this is Ord and Corman, the more glad you are that those guys got fired, because the one thing they seem to want to do in those middle episodes is this thing with they desperately want Kingpin to be Trump, and that's a legit thing to talk about. I mean, I'm happier when things talk about less transient now type things, but it's legit to talk about current politics. But it's clearly written by people that don't get Trump and don't really get politics.
I didn't. Sorry to interrupt, Chris, but I didn't so much get the idea that they were trying to make him Trump, but I think they were really trying to get the idea that his followers were MAGA.
Well, I don't see how you separate the two. I mean, if there's a disconnect there, I think it just underscores my point that they did a really, really, really poor job of trying to nail anything about the Trump phenomenon. And it seemed a bit shoehorned. The trailers we got where it looked like it was going to be Matt and Wilson's story about two guys who are opposites, both trying to escape their past, getting older, getting filled with regrets. And honestly, but before I sound like I'm being too negative, as boring and as inessential as a lot of these first 9 episodes got, major credit to D'Onofrio and Cox. They were just acting the hell out of this.
Oh yeah.
It's like, even when I couldn't force myself to care about anything else going on, it was good just seeing those guys practice their craft. They're so good at this. They're the main reason that I'm coming back for the next 9. Them and John Bernthal, who's great, but just isn't given enough to do.
I'm sharing some art from the series over here.
Yeah.
You guys haven't noticed.
That's liberties taken.
But a great riff tracks.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I enjoyed the Affleck movie for what it was. It certainly isn't the greatest adaptation of Daredevil, but for its adaptation of Daredevil, it was a fun movie.
Yeah, it's not Trial of the Incredible Hulk good.
Yeah.
But it's clearly trying.
Poor Ben Affleck in superhero movies. That poor guy. He tried so hard.
Well, it's just Affleck's fundamental problem is that he only has success when he's behind the camera or he's playing an asshole. That's why he's great in Dazed and Confused, but he's terrible in Geely. He's just on screen. He's so dislikable. It's just nearly impossible for him to play a sympathetic character. And it's just, I remember my students asking me in class, "How do you feel about Ben Affleck as Batman?" And I'm like, I'm not paying to see Bat Douche, because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get Bat Douche. And called it. Yes. Okay. But yeah. But yeah. I another thing I hated about the middle 7 was whatever else, or apparently Ord and Corman wanted to turn it into a courtroom drama because Lord knows there's not enough police procedurals in the world today. And apparently Matt never even you never actually saw Daredevil until episode 4 in their version. And it's just, I like a little more Daredevil in my Daredevil. So I'm, it's another reason I'm glad they got fired. And like their preoccupation based on what's left of theirs is they seem like, and I hate to get political, but Ord and Corman started this. There are some people. Oh, there you go. Bless you. You.
I will take a moment to actually state Trial of the Incredible Hulk was my introduction into Daredevil. I had not read a Daredevil comic or even known who Daredevil was until Trial of the Incredible Hulk. And I thought, that's a neat character. That's a fascinating character.
At the risk of burning what little credibility I have left, John Rhys Davies makes a really good Kingpin. It's not the comic. It's not the comic version, but what he's given on the page, he's great with it. Yeah. He stole that for me. But okay, but I was talking about this thing here. Talking about. I'm sorry, it's gone. Okay. There's like this class of people who it's never stopped being 2020. And apparently Corbin and Ord wanted to make this big statement about police brutality, and that aged better than a lot of things they want to do here. The notion that you want to smack down the disturbingly large number of people who think that the Punisher is a hero, something Marvel should take more blame for, that was valid. But that should have been introduced and dealt with in the course of like 2 episodes. Putting that out there and making you wait 7 episodes to get any kind of payoff on it is just stretching a good idea so thin you could see through it. I thought that's where the pacing really let us down. And it seems like that people punching above their weight. This is a statement that Ord and Corman didn't have the talent to successfully make. So again, my ultimate verdict on it was, can you live a happy, healthy life missing these 9 episodes? And yeah, you probably can. Camar de los Reyes is great, but they kill him off and then Cox and D'Onofrio are good, but I mean you could go back and watch the first 3 seasons of this show and watch them be good in something. And same thing with Bernthal. So it makes me want to watch the next 9, but never see these first 9 again. So you're very, very disappointing, very inessential, I think is my ultimate verdict on it.
Jacob, do you agree?
I have a different opinion. I enjoyed the series, but I tend to not delve as deeply into my into said themes. I am one of those people who can just switch off my brain and enjoy a thing for being yay explosions, That being said, I personally felt that for the most part, the story and the writing of Born Again was at least as interesting as the original Netflix series. It kept me interested. I enjoyed the Fisk Mayer story, even though sometimes it seemed counter to some things he might wanted to do, but they managed to. I agree there was some stumbling in the middle there, but they managed to succeed in wrapping up what it was all about at the end, which helped explain why they killed off such an essential character at the beginning with Foggy. But in that regard, they were trying to nod to the death of Elektra, but they couldn't do that because Elektra's already gone in the canon. So they did that story with Foggy instead. Because for those who don't follow comics canon, when Bullseye kills Elektra, that was a huge turning point for Daredevil, and he threw Bullseye off a rooftop for it. Before then, he had been very much a Batman, I don't kill, costumed hero. And after that, he kind of went into I am breaking people and making sure criminals suffer kind of more. That was more the Frank Miller era.
All right, question for do we all believe Foggy's actually dead?
I think Foggy is dead. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. You may be right. I remain unconvinced.
People tend to stay dead in the MCU. I mean, for the most part, except for Bucky.
They haven't had the revolving door of death and rebirth like has happened in the comics. Thank God.
True that.
There are certain characters that needed to stay dead, and it's like this is why I have my own canon for my own Marvel continuity in my role playing games. You will not see Bucky as Winter Soldier. Bucky is dead. You will not see Jean Grey again. Jean Grey is dead. You're not going to see Uncle Ben again. Uncle Ben is dead.
Who's making the rice in your game then, buddy?
What's that?
Who's making the rice?
Uncle That's a different Uncle Ben.
I don't see color. They're all the same guy to me. So I developed this strategy many years ago. I broke my leg and I had to watch a lot of streaming content while I was healing. And there were some shows I really wanted to see and some I was just mildly curious about. And I developed this strategy where I'd watch the first episode. Second episode was so-so. I would go straight to the finale and see if I could get the full story from just the pilot and the finale. And boy, especially with streaming shows that only run a season or two, that was surprisingly useful just to kind of speed read.
Okay.
So I've adopted that strategy with most Disney Plus series since then. Just because, God love them, Disney Plus, don't send your lawyers after me, but they have a lot of hours they want to fill. And their desire to fill hours exceeds my desire to watch hours of filler content. So, I tend to just skip to I figure the important stuff's in the beginning and the end. And if I miss something in the beginning, there will be a catch-up, thing at the beginning of the finale to let me know what happened. So it's sad, but it's what I do.
Well, as I have mentioned in the past, as the creator of Superpowered Legends, I tend to have to fully absorb all these shows, so I know what characters might be relevant that I have to homage in Superpowered Legends' newest product.
And you can find Superpowers Legends on Drive-Thru-RPG under the Rogue Genius Games web store.
It comes in solid book format, even.
And it has been Jacob's version of the Marvel 616 redone for Mutants and Masterminds, since there's not a Marvel supplement out there for Mutants and Masterminds. So, just saying. So hey, so this is our take on Daredevil. Any follow-up thoughts? Any wishes for next season?
Well, I imagine that they're going to do a couple of other shows before next season starts, like reintroducing a couple other of the street heroes.
Who are you thinking they're going to bring back?
Bernthal's Punisher apparently is getting his own movie.
Movie. Okay.
Little mini movie. Apparently, it's something akin to the Werewolf by Night thing that they did.
Okay, so a movie for Disney Plus.
Yes, if that counts.
Okay.
Yeah, it would surprise me if they give everyone a full series, but I can see, a short a movie to reintroduce the characters, show what's happened to them up to this point, and get them embroiled in the Mayor Fisk fiasco.
They're committed to a Wonder Man series. I mean, it's at this point, like every Marvel character going back to like the Wizard has to kind of be like metaphorically, so you'd be sitting by the phone waiting for it to ring.
I mean,
the Wizard's already shown up. He was in Jessica Jones season 2.
No, I mean getting his own show.
Okay.
He died in season 2, so he's never going to.
They can fix that. You can fix that. The modern version, the guy who assumes the legacy.
That would be all right.
Speed Demon.
The 21st century Wizard.
He's an influencer. He does. I don't know. I want Marvel to get back on the horse, and the early reviews from Thunderbolts seem to suggest that maybe they have. I'm hopeful. I'm a fan. I want to like this stuff. I just I tried to make it all the way through, Iron Fist, and that was hard. I tried to get through.
Iron Fist was difficult.
I tried to get through Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that was hard. I tried to get through Hawkeye, and I couldn't. I had to go to the old first and last.
Whoa, you couldn't finish Hawkeye?
Hawkeye was actually pretty entertaining.
That's the only Marvel streaming series I don't want a refund on my life back for.
Really?
We're wandering off topic, but you have to explain why you didn't like Hawkeye.
We're not necessarily off topic here. The Swordsman shows up.
The Swordsman shows up?
Yeah,
Jacob to save.
The Swordsman shows up in Daredevil, and his origin is in Hawkeye.
True that.
I don't know that. I was bored by Hawkeye. I don't get bored easily, but I just couldn't get into it. So yeah. Also, I was watching with a 10-year-old, and his threshold for entertainment's a lot more mercurial than mine. If he gets bored, we stop watching fast. So, but I'll give it another chance. I might get burnt. I got burned on so many Disney Plus series that my wife made me watch, like National Treasure, the Disney series.
Oh Lord.
It was, without Nicolas Cage, that franchise isn't going anywhere. And it could have been all right, but they were trying to fill like 8 or 9 or 10, episode order, and they just didn't have the story to do it. So there's a lot of dramatic walking, to pad out runtime. So I don't know. Maybe I judged too harshly on Hawkeye. Maybe I give it a second chance.
So the worst thing I could say about it is it could have lost an hour or two.
Mm-hmm.
But okay. it's the only Disney streaming series I've ever made it to the end of and felt good about the decision.
Yeah,
like totally good about the decision.
You didn't feel good about Loki?
It was all right. I guess maybe the roughest part about it is when you get to season 2 and you realize that like Jonathan Majors is the best part of a lot of episodes, and then you feel icky for liking stuff that he did. Because yeah. I try so hard to separate the art from the artist, but when you've actually choked a woman, I look, I know it happens. I would never deny that sort of thing happens. There's not in my brain. It's just like what happens in your life before you start going, I think I'm going to go choke a woman. And it's just so distracting. It's just,
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Not to take away from that, but the reason I didn't really care for Loki was I don't like the TVA in general. Mm-hmm. Any organization that treats the huge plot device, like the Infinity Stones, as paperweights, pretty much cuts the knees off the entire story and everything that was fought for and sacrificed in all the previous material. Oh, these we just shove these in our drawers and play with them.
It's a fair
I
point.
hate the TVA.
It's a fair point, but as somebody who is waiting, for Jim Starlin to run into the Marvel office and go like, "I got a story for you. Thanos gets the Infinity Stones," for like the 8th time, I really kind of like the tip that like we're done with these. We're done with these. Okay, we're moving on to other things. They may not be as good, but we're not doing these again for an 8th time, like Marvel, like the actual comics. So I like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's my son.
He's right behind you.
Yeah, you do. But yeah, the concept of the TVA, especially the aesthetics of the TVA, I got bored with the pseudo 50s business suit aesthetic of the time police when they did it in, what was that series? With the Umbrella Academy. I hated when they did it there.
Give me that retro 50s stuff. I will shoot it into my eyeballs like heroin. That's the only thing that got me through some of the later episodes of Loki. Because trust me, all the best people love retro 50s stuff.
I do know somebody on YouTube who calls rockabilly redneck cosplay. So
there are some people that they come by it honestly. They're authentic.
Fair enough. So the charm and charisma of Mr. Owen Wilson did not win you over?
I don't like the way his character arc gets resolved, but yeah, I mean he was doing Owen Wilson stuff. To me it's like how much do you like Owen Wilson doing Owen Wilson stuff? It wasn't like Carrot Top aims for a dramatic role where you're just wondering how could such a thing be. It's like, okay, if you're gonna hire Owen Wilson and watch Owen Wilson, he does Owen Wilson stuff. So
just being handsome, he had the nose, the whole thing. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap things up and say next week we'll be back to talk about Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Although Alamo Draft House is rolling out a new peach sangria, so if it's really, really bad, I reserve the right to just talk about sangria.
All right, that's fair. I like sangria. Jacob, what do you say? Come back next Friday, talk about Thunderbolts?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, that's cool. All right, sounds good. Hey, everyone, thanks for tuning in to the BAMF podcast, and until next time. I got a bad sign off here. Sorry, I definitely started one way went to the other.
Don't fight gorillas.
Don't fight gorillas unless you have 99 friends backing you up.
And don't stretch it out to 9 episodes.
Don't stretch it out to 9 episodes.
At least, hey, it could be worse. If this was any other era than the streaming era, it would have been stretched out to 22.
Well, that's fair, but wouldn't it have made a better just made-for-TV movie?
You could have totally done everything in this that you ever need to see again.
I could see it as a nice 4-part miniseries.
Oh God, this thing would have been so much better as 4 episodes. Oh God, so much better as 4 episodes.
Yeah, see, that's my problem with streaming in general is they're trying to get so much new content. There's a lot of stuff that should be on the editing room floor, in my view. But
one thing I love about streaming content is the fact that they can have a season be 2 or 3 episodes or maybe even 9 is just what the story needs, as opposed to we need to fill out an entire season of show.
Well, I think it says a lot that there are 156 episodes of the Twilight Zone. When they were made, a season was like 35 shows that you have. Most of them you had a week or 10 days to make, and the vast majority of them, after 60 years are worth seeing again. And you understand why that happened, because Rod Serling had already won an Emmy. He had already done like Requiem for a Heavyweight and Patterns and things like that. You understand why this guy gets to make 156 episodes of a show. And it's just kind of indicative that, I may deck the halls and 75 generic TV episodes. Now I don't have enough talent to make nine episodes of a superhero show without getting my ass fired. How did they land this assignment to begin with? You really question the people that are getting, you don't have the talent to pull off 9 hours of something. It's just, you really have to question the people that Marvel are handing the keys to these days.
Well, maybe there's better season 2. Anyway, until next time, we'll see you on the Banff podcast.
Bye.